All right. What is up, y'all? Will here with Schedulefly, and this is the Restaurant Owners Uncorked podcast brought to you by us at Schedulefly. Super simple, web-based restaurant employee scheduling software backed by legendary customer service. What does that mean? It means things like my personal cell phone is on our website, schedulefly.com, on I don't know, 3 or 4 pages. And if you call it, or text, you will get me. I do have a flip phone, but I can get texts. I'm happy to talk to you about Schedulefly anytime, and we take great care of our customers. It matters very much. And we also have a very affordable price point. We are not venture capital backed. We are not owned by private equity, so we've been able to keep our prices very affordable in a world of ever rising prices. So if you were on pencil and paper or Excel, which about 30 or 40% of restaurants still are, we are a very simple way to save on labor costs with accurately projected labor schedules. We are a way to save your manager tons of time and energy and headaches of chaos of schedule changes all throughout the week. And we are an easy way to attract and keep the best employees, because everybody these days wants their schedule at their fingertips and they want flexibility. So head on over to schedulefly.com, 30-day free trial, and feel free to call or text me if you have questions. And the only other thing I'll say is, if you're on another scheduling software, you might be super happy, but you might be paying a lot more money than you need to. Those prices keep going up. Head on over our way. We have a 4.9 rating on Capterra. We are the #1 rated restaurant employee scheduling software, and I'm happy to talk to you anytime. All right. That is it about Schedulefly. Let's get into Restaurant Owners Uncorked. And I have just had a chance to speak very briefly to John, but we've never met before, so this is going to be a fun conversation. And John, if you wouldn't mind, just introduce yourself.
Sure. My name is John Arendt. I'm with Keke's Breakfast Cafe. I help with growth, and I'm in charge of franchise relations for our brand. I've been in the industry for, oh boy, longer than I probably should admit, but probably close to 40 years now.
Mm.
Um, and started out in the kitchen, worked my way as a busser, worked my way through the front of the house, and then worked in the back of the house, management, mom and pop shops, and large multi brand organizations. So I've done a little bit of everything in the industry. Last few years have been mostly on the corporate side. Since 2004, I've been in corporate. So left operations, and then went into development, real estate, facilities, helped out with design and construction and special projects. So I've done almost every function within the restaurant industry I've done along the way at some point or another.
Well, you answered the first question, the only question, actually, the only consistent question I ask everybody that comes on this show is, why and when did you get started in the restaurant business? So it sounds like it was just probably a job to make money back in the day.
Oh yeah.
Why'd you stay? What stuck?
It offers something new every single day. There's in me, there's a competitive nature. So I want to always get better. If I had a bad shift, I'm like, oh no, that's not happening during this shift. I'm going to be more organized. And you learn little tips and tricks from people who've been there before. Even in a dish pit, there's room for excellence. You don't realize how important that role is until you start moving away from it, and it doesn't operate the way you want it to. So that's part of it. Part of it is the people. I would say one of the biggest things that keeps you in it once you get in it and gets in your blood is the team aspect. It's hard to describe the feeling of pulling off a shift or making it through a shift when you know the odds may have been slightly stacked against you, or even strongly. And you just look each other in the eye and you're like, we've got this. Let's go make this an amazing shift for the people that are coming in here. It's not their fault we're understaffed or the circumstances arose, but it is our job to overcome it together. And man, that feeling when you're done, you're exhausted, you got a pocket full of money if you're working in front of the house, and you got your tips, and you're talking about where you're going to go afterwards and celebrate what an amazing experience it was. You get to wake up and do it again. Like that's a powerful draw. And I would say that's a huge part of it for me.
Uh, there's a lot of camaraderie there. Did you play sports growing up?
I did. Yes, sir.
So you understood the bond and the camaraderie of working with a team and helping each
Yes.
other be successful. Yeah, there seems to be something, so many people that I talk to have a very similar story where it started as just maybe a summer job or something, needed to make some extra money, and then something stuck.
Mhm.
I think that there is some sort of DNA that y'all have, those of you that have been at it a while and have stuck with it. It's a rare thing, and it's 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 needed, I think, in this industry, because this is not an easy industry. And with all that you just described, the flip side of that is there are a lot of challenges, and there are daily challenges.
Mm.
And every
Mhm.
day you could face a new challenge. What you talked about is enjoying growing and learning. And I'm assuming that your mindset tends to be that a challenge can also be an opportunity.
No question. Yeah, that is you just nailed a huge part of my DNA. Learning is my top trait. If you look at the Strengths Finder, for those of you who don't know what that is, take a peek at it. It's a great way to just quickly understand who you are and who your team members are. Not plugging them, but it's just a cool tool. There's others. But learning is my top item. And so I combine that with the competitive nature. And so I'm just always trying to stack a little bit more on top. So that way, over the course of time, you may have had a buddy that you played, sports with when you were younger, and you go your different directions. You go to different teams, you move to a different town, and you may reconnect on a bigger level later in high school or whatever, and you come across each other. And it's like that person may have stepped away a little bit, didn't have the focus on it. But if you stay with it and you keep that little small increment changes over time, you pull way ahead. And it's not this miracle moment that people see in movies and read in stories. The
Yeah.
result might feel that way at times. You might surprise yourself with a really cool result, but that progress and that attention to wanting to learn and excel, it's definitely a big part of it. And I'll say this too about like how people get into it and why. I'll just tell you a quick story. I was doing really well and at a restaurant local. It was a high end tuxedo, had to wear a tuxedo every night, Garrett service, the table side, the whole thing, right? Cherry Jubilee, flambe, cutting Chateaubriand, decanting wine. And I'm like, man, I don't see a room for improvement here. And that's one of the dynamic things I think that ties in, Will, is that that's the word, it's dynamic. You can be in a position and do well and look to your right and your left and say, you know what, I'm kind of interested in what that person's doing and how they're doing it. And I'd like to learn that. And then also massive ability to move up. So it can happen quickly. And I'm not knocking college, I'm not knocking education in any way, shape, or form when I say this. It's a great place to go and learn on the job training. Where do you get that anymore? Like that just doesn't seem to be as approachable as it is in the restaurant industry. I think that's part of it. You become a part of something quickly, and that's what kind of keeps you there. And so one story, call this negative or positive, but I find it humorous at this point. I've got enough distance between me and it, but I went to my manager and I was like, "Hey man, I'm here at this particular business because I saw how busy you are. I see your product. I see how you take care of the people. I see the money that's being made, the excitement in everybody's voice, the fun that's being had. I want that." It was a dinner only concept at the time, and I was going to go to school during the day. And so I got my feet underneath me. I wanted to clear my space and just really be really good at my job there. And I got there and I was like, right, I told my manager, I'm like, hey man, I'm going to be going to school. He goes, oh, that's great. He goes, how about I give you a little bit of a promotion? You want to learn this? I said, sure, let's do that. So that took my time and my energy. And then I'd come back next semester. I'd say, all right, well, I think I'm going to go back to school. He's like, how about another promotion? Next thing I know, I'm in management and I'm in a career. Like it is a choice to be there and excel and be in charge of this fun, amazing brand. When you combine those things together, Did it get in the way of me going to college? In some ways. But I ended up going back. I got my degree in finance. I was an adult, student at that time and kind of rocked my way through in a hurry. Did my junior and senior year in a year and a half, as opposed to it might have taken me 3 years when I
Right.
was younger, right? Before I had
Yeah.
that discipline that I learned in management and running restaurants.
Well, look, man, it's an interesting career because you learn so many transferable skills when working in a restaurant. If you're there long enough, if it's not just a couple months washing dishes, but you're there and you progress a little bit, um, those skills will serve you well in any industry. And I would argue that they're becoming more and more important now because there are a lot of jobs that you used to go to college for that unfortunately, fortunately, unfortunately, whatever, are going to be replaced by technology.
Yep.
AI is doing a lot of the work that you may have gone to learn before. I mean, going and learning coding. The more technology we have around us, the more we as human beings seek and crave connection and being in an environment where we feel safe and taken care of and validated and important. And so when you go to a restaurant and you have people that are providing that to you, you're going to want to go back. But to be able to provide that in a high stress environment
Mm-hmm.
I think it's something that most people don't, unless you've worked in a restaurant. If you haven't worked in a restaurant, you have no clue.
Yeah.
If you have, you respect it and you're like, okay, I get this. But if you haven't, I think people undervalue how challenging it is for people to be in that space, to work well together as a team, to take great care of the customers and make the customers feel welcome when there are all kinds of things happening
Mhm.
in a world of quite a bit of chaos at any given time. So when you pull it off, I'm sure it's a very rewarding thing for the
Mhm.
team because what you just got through was no easy task.
That's exactly right. You touched on some really interesting points there as it relates to skills and teams, serving the guest. Um, Connection is just so big. So what I'll say is this that's also interesting about the restaurant industry and one of the transferable skills that you mentioned at the beginning of your question statement there, which is what is it that you get out of a restaurant? And if I'm going to focus on the front of the house, it applies everywhere throughout. But your interaction with your team, it really becomes a family. You really have to count on each other. You have to rely on each other, and the repetition can be monotonous. It can be mundane, right? If you look at it from that perspective, it's like I'm going to have how many tables, how many people they're going to eat, they're going to leave, they're going to pay, right? That kind of thing. But if you look at it from a different perspective and say, this is another shot on goal, I get another opportunity to greet this table a little better than I did the last one. I was a little flat on the last one. I didn't read that guest as good as I should have. So once you become really good at it and you're talking about that excellent service that you got or that experience you got, it looks easy. It looks effortless when it's done really well. Like any person that goes and watch a professional athlete do something like, oh, slamming the basketball is easy or hitting a 300-yard drive is easy. Look at how they're barely moving,
Yeah.
right? And the ball just explodes and goes down the middle of the fairway. How do they do that? It's so easy. And then you go and try it and you're like, oh, wait a minute. There's something completely disconnected here when I try to do this. And so the shots on goal is like something that sticks with me because every table's an opportunity for renewal, not
Mm.
just for those people coming in to be nourished in a warm, environment with great food, great service, right price, but also for me to be better. How can I connect with this, make a purposeful connection with this person and not to do something scripted, just to be genuine? Sometimes it's just paying attention to the 5 and 6-year-old and asking them what they would like to drink as opposed to asking through the parent. It's just something basic like that where you learn those connections, and the parents sometimes get emotional when they see that. They want their
Yeah.
kids to interact with the world and grow, and your recognition as the individual being able to provide that for those kids to shine is something that's wrapped up in a meal. Who thinks about that kind of stuff? We do.
Yeah. 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 That's very intentional and thoughtful and, recognized, by your guests. Sometimes consciously, sometimes subconsciously, but you know it, you walk away and you feel like, "I just had a great experience. I wanna go back to that place." And
Mhm.
that's what we want, right? We want repeat guests.
Yeah, look, here's just a quick example. I'll let you run through it in your own mind, and anybody who's watching. You've probably been to a restaurant where it's like, "Oh, man, I heard so many great things about this," and you just went in, it was disappointing. It wasn't great.
Yeah.
And then, you have another example of someone says, "You need to go check this place out. Ask for Susie." You go get Susie, and Susie just knocks it out of the park, makes the whole thing,
Yep.
right? You
Yep.
can make up for some of those mistakes. It's very rare that every aspect of it is completely perfect that is designed, right?
Right.
How do you recover in the environment? And in a restaurant environment, you can recover quickly. In a breakfast, compared to others, you can recover even quicker because I can make an entire omelet and have it back on your plate within 2 minutes. If one of the restaurants I worked at before was a steakhouse. If we made a mistake on a bone-in porterhouse, you're
Yeah.
looking at 22 minutes.
Right.
You just destroyed their entire experience. You can't recover as quickly. So your preciseness has to be really focused in on those moving parts within each one of the rhythm of your business, whether it's breakfast or dinner or whatever. But so that becomes really important of being able to recover quickly and really have a great experience for your guests.
Um, who have been some of your mentors that you've learned the most from over the years?
Man, I can go through like the different functions of what I've done each time I move. Like it started out in operations,
Yeah.
right? So I've got a couple handfuls of people there, and then move your way into the corporate environment. Totally different,
Yeah.
right? That's got a completely different rhythm. It's a different type of teamwork that exists because your shots on goal together aren't as rich if you're talking about cross functionality, right? Um, so within your function, it's tight and it can become, a really strong team. But so I'll just stay pretty high level here. There's really three people. They all were had to deal with Outback Steakhouse.
Mm.
One was the founder of Outback Steakhouse. Chris Sullivan was an incredible mentor of mine. Um, the very first CFO for Outback Steakhouse was Bob Merritt. He was a tremendous mentor of mine and a dear friend. Um, so those are two guys I would say that really stand out for me. Being able to see such level of success and ability to do their jobs well and maintain fun while making money and staying focused on the purpose. Combining all of those, it's easy to get lost in some of those things. And certainly there were mistakes made. They would everyone would say that. But at the overall, you look at what was built from scratch in a single generation was really remarkable. And then to be able to spend time with them and ask them the questions that lots of
Yeah.
people that have interest in this industry to be able to do over the years, um, they were very forthcoming and would share with me exactly what their feelings were on it, and sometimes it wasn't exactly what you thought it would be.
Mm.
Here, I'll just give you an example because I assume that's one of the things you'll follow up on. I'd ask Bob Merritt. I'd ask him. I mean, I was younger, and I sometimes I needed to just touch things really often to really feel like I knew it. And I'd ask him this, regularly. I'd be like, "What was the success? What was the thing that made Outback so great right out of the gate? Like, it's unbelievable. The stories I could go on and on about some of the things they did. They broke records on Wall Street with the investment houses where they had to raise the price in their initial come out multiple times because everybody wanted in.
Mm.
So, like, just the crazy results that were achieved with those founders in that brand. But I asked him that question. He goes, first thing he always said was luck. And I've had more time to unpack that and have more experience within the industry and have seen amazing brands do not as well as Outback. Some have done really well, right? And so those are places to go seek as well. But I suspect if you get someone in an honest moment, they might say that luck had a pretty good portion to do with it if you combine, your ability and timing. And that's really one of the ways you define luck, right? So it's just you put those two together and it just it's fun, and he was the numbers guy. So he knew exactly what the results were and how they got what they got, right? He understood it. But he led with that to make people think. And I really appreciate that about him.
Well, I think that there's something to be said for the humility of saying, look, I do think I've talked about this before on this show. I think any success, any big success is a combination of, and you basically said it, it's timing, luck, and ability slash hard work, right? I mean, I was just talking to my son about this the other day. Like you got to have some combination of those. You can control the hard work. But the luck is, sometimes it's just the lucky timing. But doing the right thing at the right time, sometimes there is luck. But having said that, I am quite certain that there were uh, a lot of different things that group did uh, that would not have made such a difference if, I mean, luck was part of it, sure, but they did a lot of things right. Do you know Steve Newton?
I do.
So I've not spoken to him yet, but I was just in Mission Barbecue yesterday. I was actually there twice. I went
I
for
love it.
Yep, I went for lunch, and then my son, I picked him up for dinner. I was like, "Where do you want to go to eat dinner?" He's like, "Can we go to Mission Barbecue?" I said, "Okay." They've done some amazing work, and have a wonderful organization as well. Another success out of Outback. So let's talk about Keke's and the story behind Keke's and where y'all are now and where you're going.
Sure. Yeah, it was founded by two brothers. We'll give you the insight on where Kiki's the name came from. I love the name. It's got a good little spirit to it. If you don't even know what it is, it's like just fun to say. Like, that's cool. I'm ready. It sounds like fun. It's the first two initials of the brothers' names, Keith and Kevin.
Okay.
So they were from the Northeast, and they had a pretty specific approach on what they wanted their restaurant to be, and it was based on a specific diner up in the Northeast in the Philadelphia market that they really liked going to. It was larger portions, it was extremely fast and efficient service, um, and they just got you in and out. And in the Northeast, you can kinda get away with being a little rude. You can kinda say, "Look, I love you, but give me the order, get in, get out." Like, you see those places, like, if you go to order a cheesesteak in Philadelphia, that you bust the line, you're out, man. Like, you gotta start over. We'll see you after you let all these people through and know how to say with or without.
Mhm.
Um,
No soup for you.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So, that was kind of the genesis of where they got started. They didn't have restaurant experience. It wasn't their background. And what I find a massive appreciation for as I get older are people who can take what could be a perceived weakness and turn it into a strength.
Hmm.
In their scenario, you might say, well, they didn't have restaurant experience. It's a weakness. Well, they opened themselves up to what they felt were great and put it through what they believed in their opinions, what were the right things to keep and what were the right things to get rid of. And I'm going to get into a little bit of philosophy here about how I think we operate specifically is that our brand is designed from top to bottom. So they curated it over 16 years and really refined the P&L, that they refined the SKUs, the menu, the service, where you should be at every single second, how many people should be on staff to capture this amount of service and sales. Sorry. And it took them that long to kind of get that thing squared away. They had no intentions of turning this into a large brand. They were thinking one or two in the beginning, and then it just expanded out. Typical founder approach, right? Let's just have some fun and make a few bucks at this one. And next thing you know, they got people coming in. They're such big fans. They're like, I have to do this. I need one of these. And so it just kind of expanded from there. And then Denny's bought Keke's 4 years ago. And we've been under the umbrella of Denny's, and it's been an amazing ride. That's when I joined. I joined in 2023, January. And so I've been able to immerse myself into the brand, work with the amazing people who've been here for many years and learn the legacy of the brand, the essence of the brand, and then, apply some of the things that I've had over the years. And then our president, Dave Schmidt, basically had a mindset of, if I build out the team right and we focus on this core essence of this brand, just don't get in the way of it.
Right.
It'll work. Right. So there were a couple of indicators that stood out. I'll stop with just one example, and I'll let you continue if there's additional things you want to hear about Keke's. But I can talk about where we are and all those things. But there was no marketing dollars spent at Keke's for the first 17 years. Zero.
So when was it founded?
It was founded in 2006.
Okay. Down in Florida.
That's correct. Orlando. Yep.
Okay. Got it. All right.
Yep. So now we're in 7 states. We've got 83 locations, a couple more on the way in the very near future, and hopefully a lot more on the way over time.
Okay. 7. So throughout the Southeast?
Well, we did a little bit different, Will. That's what you would expect, and that's how most people do it. We had a superpower on our strategy that we deployed with Denny's, which is the number one resource in any organization, my opinion, is people. And if you find the right people that you can trust to execute your brand, especially at a distance longer than arm's length, going out to different, even if you get 4 hours away, that's really rough to run as an area person. You want to try and keep that much tighter than that. So you really have to trust those people that are in those positions to do well and love and honor the brand. So we were able to tap into the Denny's network of franchisees. The relationship in some cases were 40 and 50 years long. They were in mature markets for Denny's. There wasn't any room left to grow, whether it's Los Angeles, San Francisco, Nevada, et cetera, in Las Vegas. So we tapped into some of the top people over at Denny's, and we kind of followed that thought process of, if people are first, let's follow great people that can own the brand and run it really well in their community that they already know. So, they've been developing there for a while. They've got relationships. They might be good at developing, which is a totally different skill set than running a restaurant. So we were able to tap into that. And that's really what took us across the country quickly.
Okay.
So we're in California, we're in Nevada, we're in Texas, we're in Georgia, Tennessee, Colorado.
I've never been to a Keke's. What would I expect when I come to a Keke's?
Yeah, the short term is elevated American classics. That's the best way I could explain what you're going to get when you walk into a Keke's. You're not going to get avant-garde. We're not going to have quinoa. We're not going to have things of that nature on the menu. You're going to get, if you want a pancake, you're going to have one of the best pancakes you've ever had in your life. Florida award-winning many years in a row. We get it ranked top pancake in Florida. So when you come in and you order something, you'll know we do it differently the second you see the food hit the table. And it's a common phrase around here that the eyes eat first. Most people, when they come into Keke's, especially first time, their camera comes out, they're taking pictures of the food. And it just blows you away. It's the colors, it's the textures, it's the elevation. It's the flavor profile, obviously, and the portion sizes are kind of old school, quite honestly. They're really large. Pancakes are enormous. So you got to get you to try us out when you come into town for the Mouse next time in Orlando. That's the typical entry point for folks that don't have one nearby them, is to hit one up in Orlando when they go see Mickey or the Universal.
Are you in the Carolinas?
We are not yet. We have a development agreement in place for upper South Carolina, so we're excited about getting underway with them, and they're in process of finding sites now.
Uppers. I was going to say, I'm surprised you're not in Spartanburg, Greenville. So, okay, interesting. Um, so you said 83 locations now?
Correct.
Okay. Um, so are most of the franchisees existing, new franchisees existing Denny's franchisees, or
That's
all of
right.
them?
Yes, most are still existing. We've got about 23 franchisees right now,
Okay.
and the majority of them are in Florida.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Um, let's talk about, some things I think about right now when I think about the restaurant business is one is that costs just keep going up. The consumer is getting a little strained. Um, are, how is it going for y'all this year? And are you seeing that?
This year, we're doing good. Last year was a tale of we'll call it 2 stories. The first big, like, crisis that we faced as a team at Keke's, um, was the egg prices that hit us last year. Like, that was
Right.
catastrophic, man. Like, I mean, that was one of those scenarios where when you start looking at your force majeure and your contracts with your suppliers, and they're saying, "Yeah, we just broke it. This contract is no longer in place." You know you've crossed something into something hopefully you never see again. I'd never seen that before
Yeah.
in the industry. We've had pressures, certainly significant pressures, in different areas, but to have your core item, go through a force majeure and really drive costs beyond anybody's imagination was a real test. So that really was a massive effect for us in the first half of the year. It started to lessen as the year went on, and we were actually able to change our sales projections too, throughout that process based on some of the work that had been done prior to that. So I will say that we are on a very good path right now as a brand. We're very excited about some of the things that we're looking to get done, and I'll just reach back into kind of our story a little bit to put a higher level view on this. When you're a founder-inspired brand that don't have restaurant experience but bring other skill sets, you're gonna have excellence in some areas, and you're gonna have like, "Oof, we probably need to work on that for scalability to get to that next level." I think the founders probably saw that. They're like, "This is probably a nice time for us to hit the exit ramp and let someone else take this over and get to 500." They took it from 0 to 50. So different skill set going from 50 to 500, different team, different level of investment, capital, et cetera, structure. So for us, we had to build a lot of foundational tools in the first couple of years. There were things that just didn't exist, departments that didn't exist. So we had to come in and really establish those foundations that would serve the brand, the franchisees, our team members at corporate, and obviously our communities. So while it's not fun, it's not sexy, those things needed to be done, and we were able to get those things in place in the first couple of years, and now we're seeing the fruits of that, and we can now stack on top of it and start to do that improvement you and I discussed earlier today.
Hmm. Yeah, it's a tricky thing because you've got a founder-led brand that is now owned by a very large corporate organization, and trying to find the confluence of the secret sauce of what made Keke so special, but then the systems that you need to scale, I'm going to assume it's necessary. It's probably challenging because you don't want to skew too far towards the corporate where you lose that magic of what made the brand so special in the first place.
It's exactly right. And I'm going to go to this will touch in your world a little bit too. It'll be fun. Um, our president likes to say that just because you go to Home Depot and buy a hammer doesn't mean it's going to build a house for you.
Yeah.
So, right? And so I'm gonna tie this back to your world. We use one of your competitors, but Schedule Fly is a tool, right? It can be more than that, but essentially in this context, it can be thought of as a tool, and you have to learn how to use it. You have to get strong at it. You're not gonna grip a hammer like this and turn it this way. You're
Yeah.
gonna swing it this way. You're gonna learn. You're gonna watch somebody hit a nail one time and drive it. And you're gonna be like, and you're bending nails. It's the same thing with your system. You've made it, I'm sure, very simple, and you have the approach, call my cell phone, do all these things. People still have to do the work around it to make that sing, right? So you're exactly right. So when you figure out your scale, you don't want anything ever to be an anchor. And if I introduce something, Will, there's a couple lenses we like to put things through. From a four walls perspective, I'll just give you one example. When we introduced champagne and wine to our menu, we didn't have any alcohol on the menu up until about a year and a half ago. And when we did, we're like, the world's your oyster. What do we want to add? We can add anything. Do we want to get a full liquor license, stick to beer and wine? So we have to sort through that. We chose beer and wine. And one of the simple lenses that we thought about was whatever we serve, we should be able to get as quickly as a cup of coffee.
Hmm.
Right. And so here's another lens that I like to use, especially around software. When I introduced my mother to, if I said to her, 5, 6, 7 years ago, I said, all right, I want you to book a trip around the world. If I said that 20 years ago, we'd go to AAA and like figure out how to, like go there. They had a travel agency that they would help sort through with you. Now you go to Orbitz or choose whatever one you want to go to, Kayak, and you can book anything you need, the whole trip, all in one spot. And the question I have for people is how much training did it require for people to know how to use those tools? None,
Right.
right? How much training did anybody on planet Earth go through to learn how to use Google? And they have the same page. It's never
Yeah.
changed,
Right.
right? So that's an important view that if you want people to utilize something and be good at it, make it so you don't have to spend too much time getting a dissertation and it takes got to fill out these modules and you got to think about it so much. Make it easy for them, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. Well, I mean, dude, uh, Don Nickel at Taco Lou up in Jacksonville, Florida, once said that learning to use Schedule Fly is like learning to drive a golf cart. And that's been very important for us to just, this is why I can put my cell phone on there, man. Because
I love it.
nobody ever
Yes.
had to call, keeping things simple. So let me ask you this. When you mentioned you're now serving alcohol, some of the things I'm hearing is restaurant owners are thinking about like what's going on in the world right now because it's weird things are happening that we're just not used to. Number one is a lot of people are taking these GLP-1s, which means that they're not eating as much. People are not, you know, they're not drinking as much alcohol. This is like just macro, right? It might be different in certain parts of the countries or whatever, but um, it's an interesting time when, especially when you're getting more and more of a population that is, and you see ads for this all over the place that is just, taking a medication that basically suppresses their appetite. How do y'all talk about that internally and, where we are with that and where we could be going and how do you address that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It is something that's top of mind for all of us right now. We're going through a menu redesign right now, so that's under works for us. And those things aren't to be taken lightly. Some people think, well, you're just going to rearrange things a little bit. You might add a few different items. The design and thoughtfulness that goes into it, if you do it right, transcends into what you and I just talked about. It's a simple, it's easier to use for the guest. You don't have to train them on how to find things. And the servers start developing a comfort with it too, that they can walk through it sooner and quicker.
Hmm.
And that matters in our multiple shots on goal, high turnover environment, right? If I have a server that I've had for 8 years, they don't need a menu. They don't like, they could just walk the guest entirely through everything that we've got and it would be effortless and easy. But if I've got someone there for 8 weeks who's newer and on the floor, they still need to use that as a foundational tool to help the guest get there. Point to it, talk about it, things of that nature. So for us, and we're trying to honor specifically what you're talking about is we're large portions. We're known for
Yeah,
that,
that's what I
right?
was thinking about that.
Like,
Yep.
dude, if you got our standard 3-stack pancakes, I would challenge you, you might not be able to finish it. Like, it is enormous. Yeah, like, it's big. And that's not including the 4 slices of huge bacon you're gonna get, everything else. So we have to be able to walk them through that. Our newer menu has that factored into the design aspect. And so Keke's is we're not ever probably going to be like the leader of this amazing new thing. We've got items on the menu that will be new to you. We present French toast in a way you've probably never had it. We have a stuffed French toast that comes out looking perfect. It's almost got like geometric shape to it. Pardon me. And yet it looks amazing and you just want to pick it up and start eating it. You don't even want to grab a fork and knife. You just want to grab it. And so we have those amazing food moments. So we're protected there from what has been established over time. How do we answer that? The new menu is going to have different ways to use us. You're going to be able to find smaller portions easier. That will be pulled forward. We'll have some specific dishes, but we don't need to lean too far into that because now you're changing operations.
Yeah.
Now you're asking for a big shift across the entire brand. You might need new SKUs, things of that nature. We do that very purposefully, and the new menu design is going to answer exactly that. And so another thought process for us with alcohol was we just want to avoid the veto vote, right? So if someone says, look, I love Keke's, the food is great, but I can't get a mimosa. For some people, that's important, right? And it's usually a vocal portion. They're going to let you know, you don't have champagne? Like, I'll go over to Publix and get it. Can I go and bring it myself? Like that, there's an intensity
Sure.
there.
Sure. Yeah.
And so that is really our approach. We're not trying to go be the leader on that cutting edge of things, but we'll incorporate things as we see that our guests are asking for it and need it in the right way for us. That still honors the basics of what we're trying to deliver, which is really high quality, very efficient and warm service and experience.
As you continue, and I guess, a lot of this is you've got so much expertise through Denny's. I wonder about when you're looking for real estate, how you, like, where is a typical Keke's going to be? Is it a standalone or is it?
Yeah. Yeah, I will say this. One of the greatest things about our brand is its flexibility that way. So at its highest level, there are quick differences between Denny's and Keke's on real estate. Denny's, a prototypical would be off the interstate with a 110-foot pylon sign.
Yeah, right.
Like Keke's isn't going to do that. We wouldn't necessarily say no to it if it's the right fit, right market in a retro, but we wouldn't go build that. That's just not, it's not what we're about. People aren't going to know our name, Keke's, and decide to get off on that exit and go eat there. Yeah. So for us, we're looking for daily needs. Your middle to higher level supermarket. So, not your full boutique, but Whole Foods is a great crossover for us. Fresh Market, Publix is amazing, has been amazing for us in Florida and the Southeast. So that makes it easy for us. End caps are preferred. Inline space is fine. We're looking somewhere around, on average, 3,800 to 4,000 square feet. We're trying to get to 150 seats, and you and I can cover why in a minute. So that's really where we are. We want to be easy access. We don't want you to have to fight to go in a ring road in a mall to get there. We have those and they work, right? Because that's what the market called for, and that's an acceptable place for breakfast. In many cases, you're just too far away from some folks in that area. It feels regional. We want to be closer to the homes, an easier trip. When people are thinking about breakfast, you're not going to want to drive a half an hour to go anywhere. You're going to pass 20 places to eat doing that, right? So we want to be in that 5 to 10 minutes. That's our focus. And quite honestly, if you follow a good grocer like that, they do the real estate work for you. The only thing you have to be mindful of is which cycle of an opening are they doing? Because they're in a much typically, certainly Publix, I'll follow that one just for ease. They're in a super mature cycle of their business in the Florida market. They were founded here. It's been decades.
Yeah.
Um, so they're now going into places with Publix before the neighborhoods are built and before it might be successful for Keke's to go there. So you have to make that decision. Is this too early for us? And that's really one of the biggest watch outs for us. And then ease of access. You want to be able to get in and out. Nobody wants to fight parking and those things to enjoy a quick breakfast. So there's
Well, I want to get to the 150, but I do want to mention something that you just brought up, which is quite interesting. I live in a little town called Waxhaw, North Carolina, but we're just south of Charlotte. Charlotte's
yeah,
merging with Waxhaw, right? Publix came in around the corner from us a few years back, and I have watched independent restaurants hang their shingles out and then pull them back down 6 months later in a
yeah,
couple of these locations multiple times,
yeah.
probably assuming that, well, if Publix is here, we're in great shape. But Publix went there knowing the growth is coming. I think,
They're blunting competition, Will. Like they in Florida, they quite literally have two Publixes across the street from each other doing $80 million a year in sales. Like it's insane. They literally across the street from each other.
yeah, yeah.
And so they're just saying Winn-Dixie's not allowed here, Fresh Market's not allowed here. We own this market.
But they know, and like in this situation, they know, to your point, the growth is coming, but that restaurant, there's not enough traffic there yet for the restaurants to, it's been really interesting because I thought, oh, you're in a Publix center. Good for you. You're going to be successful. And then you watch, but see that Publix is anchored. I mean, there's still lots of unbuilt space and, the population continues to grow, but Publix was just out ahead of that.
Yep.
Uh, okay. By the way, I love that brand. We have Harris Teeter. I grew up on Harris Teeter, but, and near us now we have Lowe's. Lowe's just opened, and we have Publix, and there's a Whole Foods. Publix is awesome.
Yeah,
I like their employee-owned model. They do a good job.
exactly.
Do you know Trey Morgan Companies?
I don't.
Okay. He's a buddy of mine. He does a lot of real estate development. His dad started the business down in Miami, but he's in Charlotte and been there a long time, runs it now. But they do they do a lot of public centers. And if you ever
Well,
want to
if you
connect,
can get on that short list, you're doing great.
yeah, if you want me to connect you with him, let me know. It's a great
Sure.
dude. They do a lot as you grow I mean, they're in the Southeast, probably like DC down through, Florida and into, probably around to Texas or whatever, but where Publix is going, they use Trey a lot. Tell me about the 150, guests you mentioned or,
Yeah, so this gets into the essence of the title of, why is breakfast a kind of an overlooked model, right? And so the operations aspect, what I'll say about this is true. People can cook breakfast at home. They can cook steaks at home, right? They can do food at home for just about anything except for French cuisine, which nobody seems to be able to master. Probably there's no more fresh restaurants out there. But
funny.
what I will say about our business is that it has predictability. You can trust the environment you're getting into, which is really unusual in the restaurant industry that I've seen. And it's also a lot less taxing. So we'll get into the model a little bit. That'll lead to the 150 seats. Why we kind of like to have that number right now. It's a nice fit for us. Is one, it's super predictable. We know we're going to get the majority of our business between 10 and 1 o'clock.
Mm.
We know that on a broader scale, even lifting away from that, if you look at the week, we know we're going to do 50 to 60% of our sales, sometimes more on Saturday and Sunday. So you know what to expect. You can plan for that.
Yeah.
You design around it and you train around it. You build your entire model around that, and then you just continue to work your way into the slower times. What are you doing during those times? It's working on catering. It's working on improving your steps of service. It's training those people to be ready for a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, right? So that helps tremendously. But knowing you're probably going to be on a wait, well, you will be on a wait every Saturday and Sunday for sure. So you're
Yeah.
going to be at max capacity. What are you doing to be able to honor that? How are you tracking your success during those times to work in the margins? Working in those margins of throughput and efficiency and excellence is what makes or breaks your ability to do that, to run the model correctly. And so all those things lead up to just one simple statement is the breakfast industry is simple but not easy. And you've probably heard that before, right? Simple does not equal easy. Some people conflate those. And so the significant difference between those two is
It's actually the opposite. Keeping things very simple is actually hard to do.
it's incredibly hard.
Yeah, the
Yes.
inclination is to keep adding and do so. Cutting away versus adding is a challenging thing to do, I think, in almost any business.
Yes. And when you look at what we do, um, let's just talk about a shift to give it some context. So we close to open. Plenty of other businesses do that too, but we close to open. So our openers, we only need two people to open the building, a manager and a cook, essentially to get started. And they only show up a half an hour before the doors swing open. You're turning on the grills. You're going to cut a little bit of fruit. You're going to cook a little bit of bacon. You're going to cook some home fries. Get that steam table started, and that's it. You're off to the races. You get your first server come in right at opening. Sometimes you come out, a little bit stronger in the mornings, but the idea is you're not there for an extra shift. There is no extra hidden shift. When I worked at previous brands that were dinner only, open the doors at 4, there were people in the building at 7 a.m.,
Yeah,
right? You had a crew doing all the prep, fresh made to order stuff day to day. You're cutting the lettuce, you're cutting the onions and et cetera, making sauces. There is none of that at Keke's. It's mostly fresh food.
right.
It's not sauce heavy driven. It's fresh food cooked on a flat top grill. So that's a beautiful thing from an operator's perspective, to know that I can just lock in 30 minutes before and I come in and it's all go. Like, you got to have your green light. Like, the race has started, right? And you can just get it done. So then from 7 to 10, your servers are starting to slowly full in. You're ready to go by 9 o'clock. You're 9:30. You're full. You're fully ready. Everyone's there. You're probably not a full cafe yet. If you're in a busy one, you are. It's a different little rhythm, but on an average. Then from 10 to 1, get ready, buckle up. We do have lunch as well, but it's only like 8% of our mix. Most of it is still breakfast. So that leads into our strengths, because that's where we have a significant wow factor. It's also really fast. We get the food out super fast. Any egg dish I can have out in 90 seconds.
Mm,
So that's an amazing experience. And so
yeah.
we wrap up a couple different things in there with just, automatically it's a mantra for us to be running around with that coffee pot and refilling everybody, constantly refilling before and you don't need to ask. So little things like that start to add up to throughput as well. And I'm going to give away one of our secrets. It's not a secret. Lots of other people do things like this, but in the spirit of reaching back to the founder's approach of trying to get people through the cafe, and have their experience to be able to get the next one in on a Saturday and Sunday is critical, right? If you have campers, you're throwing off your throughput. I mean, I love you, but I loved you when you walked in. I love, we got to get this done. You already ate. So one of the things we do is we just walk up table. We set the check down early in the experience after the second bite. No rush. This is you're on your time, but I'm here when you need me. And then the next thing we do is towards the end of the meal, it's like, would anybody like a drink to go? It's a really elegant cue
Yeah.
right? To get them a nice steaming hot cup of coffee the way they like it in a branded cup, and it's a cue to, you know what? It is time to go. I got my cup of coffee. I'm ready to hit the road.
Yeah. Right.
So
Uh,
those
that's
types of cues are what we focus on. How do we find those elegant moments to elevate the experience and get a result at the same time?
so an elegant way of achieving the same results that maybe the founders would see up where they grew up of like, hey man, you got to get out of here. I need the next
You're
guest to
out.
come over.
Yeah.
Like, love you, mean it.
Yeah.
Outta here.
Exactly.
So, yeah, that doesn't play as well in a lot of other parts of the country. So you're
You
doing
got it.
a little bit more delicately. I like
Yes,
that.
sir.
I like that. That's good. That's good. Um, hey man, I want to respect your time. Is there anything else that you think we should wrap about? I think this has been such an enjoyable conversation.
Well, I feel like we could go for another couple hours,
I
man.
do
I
too,
I
man.
look forward to coming back if you'll have me. We can get into some other specific details about the industry, design, and construction, and purposefulness on why we designed the way we did. And yeah, anytime. I look forward to chatting with you anytime. Will
Well, John, thank you. My only ask of you is that do you ever listen to podcasts?
I do.
All right. So if you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen, go to Restaurant Owners Uncorked. You're now part of the community. So
I
give us a
love it.
5-star rating because the more 5-star ratings we get, the more the algorithms put this content out. So the more people will hear the John and Keke's story. And those of you listening, we love you. We would certainly love if you would give us a rating. I've learned I need to ask this every time because like maybe one person will do it each time. But hey, please take a second, give us a 5-star rating. Thank you all for listening. We love you. More great episodes coming soon. We will see you.
See you, Will.